And we're live! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christopher Wilson, also known as Big Girl, and welcome to Big Girl and Friends. I have to share a funny story. So it is 6 minutes past 7, and my beautiful guests tonight and my co-host just watched me do a whole 5-minute monologue thinking that I was actually live on the stream. And I was delivering it to just them all by myself. It was brilliant. So I said to them, you got to see if I could recreate this material. So I'm going to ask you all, someone in the live chat, to make a comment and let me know that you're watching and that I'm actually on the screen and you've heard everything I just said. Just shout out a comment. So yes, hello, Jennifer. Thank you. Yeah, literally, I was like, blah, 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 blah. And I looked at the screen and was like, we're not live. Anyway, sorry, I just hit the wrong button. It's lovely to see you on this Friday, April 17th. I am, again, I know, you'd think after 4 weeks I'd have it down. But yeah, I'm alive. I'm alive, I'm so alive. Okay, you don't need to hear that. Haven't warmed up. So anyway, welcome on Friday. We've had a great fourth week. I was going to share with you that this weather is kind of messing me up. It's like it can't decide. We had that beautiful sort of like spring summery reprieve and coming in. And now the weather in Toronto for the last, hello, New York. Hi, Jay. The weather for the last couple days has been like a bit cold and a bit dreary. It's kind of October-y. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to getting the sunshine going because I've got my bike all souped up and I got to watch my COVID waistline. You know, my partner made some really lovely, chocolate chip cookies, like the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever eaten. Like they're really that good. So I've been kind of mowing down on those the last couple of days. But listen, in the spirit of transparency, like in this isolating place, sometimes our emotions are up and down, right? So I have to share with you very openly that for whatever reason, I kind of had a bit of a tricky day. And the whole goal of Big Girl and Friends is not only a fundraiser for the Actors Fund of Canada. So the Actors Fund of Canada is an incredible organization that supports us, the artistic community, while we are isolated and not able to do our vocation, aka go to the theater and share our gifts with you, and you can't come see us. So we are in a vulnerable position, and organizations like the Actors Fund of Canada support us financially while we are all weathering this storm together. So we thank all the donors who have graciously and sincerely given thus far. And if you're able to give us donations tonight, we'd be more than happy to shout them out during the show. But as I was saying, you know, it was a bit of a tricky day for me in the last little while. And as COVID continues to evolve, and it's, as we all know, it's a very fluid and shifting landscape. There are people in our lives that we're going to start to know that are going to be coming into our inner sanctum that are directly affected. So this week, I was aware that there were two very close friends and colleagues of mine that both lost their elderly parents in nursing homes as a result of COVID. And it was a scenario where the diagnosis happened about 6 or 7 days ago. And within that week period, they unfortunately succumbed to their illness and passed away. So these are the realities that exist in this situation. And even though I was feeling sadness, it was funny. This song has kept going through my head. And I don't want to be the least bit trite about it because it'll be a dead giveaway for not only our principal guest, but our extra special guest that's coming to speak with us today. But just a reminder, so Big Girl and Friends was birthed when I was at Stratford way back in 1995 when I was 20 years old as a precocious little actor. And in a moment of frustration, a fabulous colleague and friend named Lee McDougall, who was in the original company of Come From Away, turned to me and said, you're such a big girl. And it eventually became a beautiful term of endearment that I adopted with all of my high kicks and everything. Big girl in the house. But I was thinking about the song that Lee sings in the show, Come From Away, which our wonderful guest is. And I just, you know, sometimes things are best expressed through songs. So I just wanted to share like just the very beginning of this tune, because as we have been sharing music throughout this stream, it's really become evident to me how songs take on new meanings. And even though we sometimes feel very not only physically isolated, but emotionally isolated, we are very much in this together. And we're experiencing something that most of us have never experienced before, and we will come out the other side, but we will be changed, and it will be something that we will remember forever. So just a little snippet from this beautiful piece of music that I just wanted to share because it's awesome. So here it goes. This is for the man who birthed Big Girl. Stop the world, take a picture, try to capture to ensure this moment lasts. We're still in it, but in a minute, that's the limit. And this present will be past. And here we are, where the world has come together. And here we'll be in this picture forever. So as I said, as that song says, it talks about, you know, how as we're sitting in our homes and enduring these long periods of time, you know, we're struggling. But this is something, there is a gift in this. And the gift is not in the loss, because there's going to be losses, and there's lots of income, and there's loss of people and relationships, and that's devastating. But there's also an opportunity for us to find a more collective sense of community and to reach out to each other in new ways. And I was grateful that not only Lee McDougall bequeathed me the name Big Girl, but he sang this beautiful piece of music that was created by David and Irene in a wonderful show that has literally touched the world over and over again. And I just wanted to bring that into the consciousness tonight. So enough about my wah-wah. I want to bring my special co-host tonight. He was already a guest on the show, and I'm going to bring him back to the adventure, but this time as my co-host for the evening. He is a dear friend of one of our guests this evening, and he recently returned from the Dear Evan Hansen National Tour, having performed in it in Toronto. And please welcome to the stream, Mr. Alessandro Costantini.
Hello. Hi, Astrid.
I don't know where Astrid is, so I'm gonna like multitask here. Hi, Alessandro. You're still in Sudbury, right, Boo?
That I am. Yep.
Cool. Astrid's face has gone away. I have to make sure Astrid comes back.
Yeah.
She is. So, Alessandro, tell us since last we saw you, you were in our first week, were you not?
I was, yeah.
That's was great.
Day one, baby. Day one.
Day one. So tell us what's been happening for you in Sudbury since last we met. So, number one, you, of course, were in quarantine because you had been traveling in the States and you were down in the basement of your parents' house. And now you busted out and you got delivered like pots and pans, and you're cooking up like a true Italian should.
That's right. Yeah, I got a sponsorship from Le Creuset with through Dear Evan Hansen for this segment I do called Recipes from the Road, which we're going to start back up again soon. So that's been kind of fun. I've been cooking with my parents a lot, and I painted my childhood room. Everything's all bare on the walls right now, but I'm going to put some artwork up soon.
What color did you choose? What was the?
It's just a sensible like light gray.
See, for me, everything's got to see. There's COVID connections. What's your COVID color?
And then otherwise, it's just been kind of figuring out, what's happening with my summer season for ES Theater and balancing and navigating, all the tricky, crazy things that come with running a theater company right now.
Yeah. So yay, Astrid's back. I can see. And she doesn't know to guess. So tell us briefly about what some of the initiatives, because we've had a conversation. So Yes Theater, for the viewers that don't know, give us a quick snapshot, because for those of you who didn't see your episode.
Yeah, it's a theater company that I started here in Sudbury with a number of friends 10 years
Sudbury,
ago.
Ontario. Viewers, for anyone who's joining us from New York City, Sudbury is in the Great White North of Ontario.
And it's just grown. It's, we focus on kind of bridging together professional and community-based practice, and it's we've developed a full community of people and a really great canon of work, and it's really growing, and we're kind of wanting to build the next major theater festival here in Sudbury. And that's gorgeous.
And you and I spoke of an exciting initiative that you are now engaged in that's happening at the beginning of May, because like me, we just can't sit on our hands idly. So tell us the exciting thing you're doing right now.
We're announcing it all on Monday, and we're going to be doing.
Maybe I should shut up.
Hey, listen, the more impressed about it. We're doing this big citywide telethon here in Sudbury to kind of Just we're going to raise money for the hospital, the COVID fund at the hospital.
Right.
And it's essentially we're going to bring together a whole bunch of artists from all across the city, business owners and things, just to kind of chat about what, restaurants, shops, different things across the city, to kind of get a feel for how people are doing through all of this, and just create an awareness about the local ecology and the importance of that, and so that people could, when we're out of this, people will know where to spend the money.
Well, I have to sort of connect personal. So, Alessandro, my father, as I might have told you, and my first husband, I sound like Elizabeth Taylor, my only husband, but are both from Sudbury. But admittedly, the family culture that I grew up in, my Wilson surname family was very sort of sports minded. So whenever I visited Sudbury, they didn't quite know how to deal with me. So I always kind of felt like a fish out of water in my own family culture. So I remember meeting you, and I'd never worked at STC at Sudbury Theatre Center. I remember meeting you and going, who is this vivacious young man making all this incredible theater in Sudbury? I was like, if I had met you when I was 14 years old, I would have moved there.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I think, we got to build the community. Yeah. Everyone could feel welcomed in.
Yeah. So have you guys got a working title for this fundraising?
No, not yet.
It'll come to you.
It'll be something. My mom's riffing on a couple ideas, but
it's gonna be fabulous. Awesome. Well, let's bring to the stream our wonderful principal guest. I hope she was excited to see your cute little face. She is here straight from, she's in Toronto now, but she's come from the Broadway in Toronto. She was in the original company of Come From Away, which premiered here at the Royal Alex and has been on Broadway for the last 2 years. And
this is
see, I pretend conveniently to forget things. Actually, folks, this is my belly button. That's how many facelifts I've had. Let's welcome to the stream the talented, the gorgeous, the wonderful Astrid Van Wieren.
Hi, friends. Hi, Alessandro. Oh my God. Hi. Yay.
I thought, who could bring more joy to your stream than you can bring? We'll up the radiance, include Mr. Alessandro Costantini.
I love you so much.
I love you. I'm so excited for this, to hear you.
Yay!
I wanted to open this up so we could see your lovely boudoir that you've created. Tell us where you are in the world, Astrid. You're in Toronto, right?
I am in my house in Leslieville. I'm in my bedroom. I'm on Marjorie Avenue. My cat is right there. My friend John is cooking me something in the basement. So
we love this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we said to you earlier, we welcome guest appearances from felines, from puppy dogs, from whoever wants to make their way in.
As long as she doesn't knock over this little tower. My phone is on an old metal frame thing for photographs on a couple books, taped with painter's tape.
I tell you, right?
Great.
Awesome.
The way that we facilitate these streams are pretty impressive. My favorite was George Maswell taped his phone to the wall. I don't know if you saw that. And then he was talking about a song that he did where he couldn't mess it up and he had to tell this huge story and he began the song and the phone fell off the wall. It just, bam. And we thought, oh my God, it's the phone. And then last night during our show, George was co-hosting and someone robbed him during the thing, took something off his porch. He left the stream, chased them down the street, got the package down. He's like, I have to go get a porch pirate. It was amazing.
Porch pirates are the worst. I know it's desperate times for some people, but it's not the thing to do, people.
No, anyway,
he
got his package back. And so you, of course, my dear, coming back from New York, needed to spend some time in isolation.
I did, yeah.
And was that okay? I mean, it's...
I'm topped up with gratitude on every time I think about other people's situation. There are people in basement apartments with no windows. I have have great space. Look at all these lovely people who I love. I can't wait. I don't have my readers on because I've got my contact lenses in. I could just see that was Kelly Holliff.
Everyone's wishing you love. Everyone's wishing.
Yeah, it's been okay. I mean, we all have our, like you were talking at the top of the show. There's a lot of sort of ups and downs. And I've definitely struggled some days. And the strangest thing is the kind of feeling of numbness. And it's actually art and theater and music that has allowed me to crack open. I was watching something and somebody did a monologue And and it wasn't about the situation, but that's what's so brilliant about theater and music. When it cracks open, and you can release it, and it's just, so.
Well, I have to say, sometimes when I've been, like, obviously, to maintain things like this, there's like some practical things that needs to go for the day. And some days I've gotten up and go, oh, I do not want to be in my computer doing social media. But every single night that 7 o'clock rolls around, when I make us live,
That was very
Instant forgiveness.
Oh my God. No, there's no judgment. I just think it was so hysterical that I did like this whole monologue. But the point of the story is that having the chance to connect with people like yourself and Alessandro, it really, I go, oh, right, here I am. Here's my community. And yes, even though I'm like, are you in there? I want to connect through the screen.
Yeah.
I still get to have you in my home, and I'm in your home, and I will settle for that under these circumstances, because that's the biggest gift. So
wonderful is it that we get to all jam together and connect and FaceTime and Zoom, and it's, I think it's a miracle. Imagine having to do this, go through this without any of these resources, right? It would be very
absolutely.
I miss hugs, though. I miss hugging people.
Oh, of course.
I said, when I'm able to hug someone, the first time I hang out with like any of my friends, it's going to be just a full cuddle sesh. We're going to hug the whole time. I'm not going to let go.
Puppy pile.
Oh, that's beautiful. Doesn't she look gorgeous, Merle? She absolutely does.
Merle, you're so sweet.
Oh, and Astrid, congratulations on your film. So enjoyed the premiere of your show. My partner Gavin and I were so grateful that we got to share that with you.
Thank you for coming, and thanks to everyone who came. And we're working on building it as a TV series. We think we're working on our pitch and all of that. So
it'll happen, baby.
You might see Stevie again. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, with your blessing, there's so many things we want to talk about, but we have another guest that Astrid very, very graciously connected me to at the beginning of our stream. We haven't seen this gentleman for 3 and a bit weeks. I'm going to invite in a moment Dr. Alan Detsky. Dr. Alan Detsky is the former physician-in-chief at Mount Sinai Hospital. He's the professor of health policy management at the University of Toronto and a senior scientist with the Division of Clinical Investigation and Human Psychology through Toronto General Research Institute. He is also a recipient of the Order of Canada and happens to be a co-producer and an investor in The Come From Away. And we're just going to bring him in. Oh my goodness, are you kidding? Sorry. Yannick Landry, $500 to the Actors Fund of Canada on behalf of Astrid. Yannick, you are sweetness and light.
Yannick, that's awesome.
Thank you, you beautiful man. And say hello to your beautiful partner from Gavin and I. Thank you. Please welcome to the stream, Mr. Alan Detsky. We're going to chat a bit about COVID from his medical standpoint. Hello, Alan.
Hello, Christopher. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you, Alessandro, and very nice to see Astrid again.
Yeah.
Yay. So tell us, Alan, thank you for joining us. And it sounds like I was, eavesdropping while I was powdering my nose here before, and you've been busy with all sorts of things in your professional life. But give us a little insight now that we've been sort of in this sort of lockdown scenario for the better part of 4 weeks. What's your perception of where we are in Toronto and in Canada in terms of how we're handling with flattening the curve and the precautions that our country's been making? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have several emotions that go with the thoughts. First of all, I feel that we're very lucky that our healthcare system, the acute care side of our healthcare system, has not been overrun. When it was in China, people could say, that's far away. When it was in Milan, they could say that's far away. When it was in New York, you can't exactly say that's far away. It's only 500 miles away. So we, so far, in our acute care system, have not had to have situations of rationing ventilators. Our hospitals are quiet. And I'm knocking on the table because that could change on a dime.
Yeah, of course.
So from the acute care side, I think we're holding the fort. On the other hand, on the long-term care side, we're really struggling. Those facilities are drowning. Cases percolated throughout the long-term care facilities, and both the staff and the people who live there, the residents in those communities, are really struggling.
Yeah.
And that's where we're looking to improve things. The provinces are handling it all differently, but they're all really struggling with getting the staff and supporting the staffs in those facilities to be able to deliver the best care they can for their clients. They're not just patients; they're their residents. So that's been sad. I'm not even going to go through what the numbers are because they're irrelevant. Every loss is tragic, compared to where I thought we would be 3 weeks ago, we're in better shape.
Good.
But looking forward, we don't really see how we're getting out of this. But as I said in the first telecast, I was the chief of medicine during SARS in Toronto, and I definitely couldn't see how we were going to get out of that one when we were in it. It was a different kind of outbreak. It existed primarily in healthcare facilities, not in the community. It looked different. There was not the same shutdown of the economy. There was not the same social distancing, but it had the same feel, which is the unknown of how this is going to end, and it just did. And I know this will too, but I'm not exactly sure the path between here and between here and the end, what that's going to look like. Most people predict that this is going to grumble along and grumble along and grumble along, and that we're going to have be vigilant and have a very careful case finding and testing. In SARS, we had superb public health infrastructure for case finding, but we had no test at all. Now we have a test which is not being rolled out as broadly as we would hope. We don't seem to have the same kind of case finding infrastructure because it's bigger. Right. But that's what it looks like it's going to be. I don't see the economy opening up much before the summer, maybe not before the fall, but any predictions would be purely speculative. I can really just say we're in better shape today than I thought we would be 3 weeks ago. But I say that with a lot of trepidation because on the long-term care side, we're in horrible shape, and it could change on a dime.
I guess part of the challenge is that obviously, as the weather continues to improve, people's desire to be less adhering to isolating practices are going to be challenged. We're already seeing that in Western Canada, a bit in Vancouver. And further to that, this is not a political statement because I'm not usually the political guy, but, with our fabulous leader to the south of the border, talking about, the advocacy that Trump and his people want to do in terms of opening up things sooner for the sake of the economy. I'm wondering if, do you think that Canada will be able to, despite what happens in the United States, as our most influential southern neighbors, do you think that Canada will be able to sort of maintain our own protocol and follow due diligence despite what's happening around us?
Oh, yes. Our exposure from the United States is people traveling from there to here, but we have a good handle on that. I think everybody knows that when they come up from the United States, they have to go into a quarantine-like situation for 14 days. I think people have accepted that. That part of our risk, I think, is manageable. And I also think that behavior of Canadians is not modeled on behavior of Americans. I don't see any. In fact, behavior of Americans in one state is not modeled on behavior of Americans in another state. If you look how well it's working in California compared to Florida or Georgia or states like that, I don't believe that their whatever decisions they make to open or not open their economy will have any effect on what we do here. I am confident that the public health authorities here and that the political arm of the governments, even the governments that we wouldn't have expected would be so enlightened, will do what's best for the citizens of their provinces and this country. And I don't think that Canadians will be influenced by what Americans do in terms of whether we open or not.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't see that now. We don't look to them. We certainly don't look to them for any behavioral directives. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Dr. Alandetsky, we're so grateful that you shared some time with us tonight. I hope to have you back in the next couple of weeks. And we are wishing you safety to you and your wife. And we thank you for not only your medical counsel, but your contribution to our beautiful arts community and to come from away. And we'll keep you in. And thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. A pleasure to be here.
Okay.
Bye,
Have a
Alan.
lovely- Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, my dear, thank you again, Astrid, for connecting that lovely fellow with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I appreciated his compassion when he spoke about the numbers, and that really every life is important, because anyone grieving somebody that they've lost that's a whole life. That's a package of memories and a heart that's loved and
Absolutely.
lost.
Mhm.
And it's just
Yeah. Well, my love, can I invite you? You spoke so openly about how monologues and art have been your lifeline and your connection. And it's not, I think the thing that's been joyful for me in this Big Girl and Friends initiative is that we can all be, at least I try, even though it's in a cyber capacity, to create this space that's conducive to us all just being authentic.
and we appreciate it so much, Christian.
And but you know what I mean? So like it's just, so would you graciously share some?
I would love to. I'm going to sing. The first song I'm going to sing is from a musical that I did with my beautiful friend Rob Kempson, who wrote it. And Scott Christian was kind enough to do a track for me. So I'm hoping this will work. I haven't done this for a long time. But speaking of long-term care places, and I don't know, I've always had a soft spot for seniors, and the truth is, I think as I get closer and closer to that myself, I just, even when I was little, I always wanted to go and hear stories about people. And so this is, it was a song cycle. It was done at Pass Marai. And Rob played my grandson. And as I said, he wrote it. It's a beautiful piece.
It is a beautiful piece.
There's no dialogue. It's just song after song. And then things are just kind of like
song-alogues, I call them.
Song-alogues. I love that.
Self-contained scenes within the works. Yeah.
So this is a song-along, and I think it's kind of it'll tell the story on its own, I think. So let me see if I can get this computer.
We're gonna give you the screen. Thank you, Astrid.
Thank you. Come on. When I was a movie star, I'd meet stars at all the parties at Sardi's, and then when I was a movie star, you could see me on the silver screen delighting my fans. When I was a movie star, I lived a life of glamour that you dreamed for me. And as a movie star, I'd wear expensive diamonds for the whole world to see. And I'd sit in my chair and tell stories to thrill you, the ones where my life was all magic and grace. And I'd watch you light up like a fire was within you. I lied to you, I lied to you, to put a smile on your face. When I was a movie star, I lived the life that you would know from your wildest dreams. And if I was a movie star, it was your dreams, not mine, that created the scenes. And I did it because it was all that you wanted. Grandma, much more than the one that you had. And because you loved movies, we watched together and made her. I created her to make you feel glad. Was it wrong to deceive you? Was it wrong to say that I had been the one thing you wanted your grandma to be? Can't you see it wasn't me? It was only because I wanted you near me, wanted to know that you'd always be there, wanted to feel that you'd stay here beside me forever, for all time. For now, it's because you were fast-paced and my life was slower, because you made my life so much more than so-so. I was scared that I'd lose you, and now that I have, I know. So when I was a banker's wife, I never had glamour or riches or fame, but as a banker's wife, I didn't know if you could ever love me the same.
Brava! You're so good.
Ah,
You're so wonderful, Astrid.
oh, I love doing that show. It was such a
So
beautiful
great.
experience.
It
Everybody
was
on that
a
was so good.
beautiful experience. It was such a joy to. I actually think I saw it twice. That song cycle, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because I went with my partner and then I took someone else with me because I was
Oh.
Rob Kempson. I loved it that much.
Well, you know, Astrid,
My cat liked it until I got a little loud, and then she was like, "What the hey, what the okay, lady, calm it down." So I actually took a cue from her. I was like, "Okay, you don't need to blast
There you go.
everything, girl. Just calm down." So,
I think Astrid is the actor in Toronto or in Canada that I've seen on the most stages in the city. You know, because I can't even count the number of shows that I've seen you in
Oh,
Toronto.
yeah.
All very different pieces, very different styles.
I've
Equally,
been so lucky that way. I love doing like storefront stuff with like
Yeah.
50 people is kind of my jam. But I'm
Yeah.
not saying I don't love my come from away job.
No, of
I'm
course.
looking forward to
Which
that.
is why it's just so wonderful that you are where you are now, because you know you have had such a wonderful career that has spanned everywhere and has worked. You know, you're just
And I
amazing.
am where I am now
So,
because people like Rob and people like Matt Murray and
yes.
people like that have, you know.
Mhm.
Shout out to Group.
Group. Mwah.
Yeah. Astrid, what it was, I mean, prior to now, what's it been like working in New York City? Tell us what your adventure's been like doing Come From Away on Broadway.
Yes.
It's been incredibly magical. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't something I thought was gonna be where I'd be. And it's not that I gave up on a dream. I was enjoying what I got to do here. I got to do Belle Sur with these incredible women, and I got to,
Yeah.
you know, this comedy, you know, Myth of the Ostrich and stuff like that. But to be on Broadway, like where you know some of the best people land, and then to discover that the people who work and live there are just folks, just people, you know, just, you know. And if I saw somebody with a piece of tape on the back of their neck at a coffee shop, I just got brave and I would say, "Are you? Excuse me, are you a performer?" And
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That is
the generous audiences,
Yeah.
people who love Broadway love Broadway. I mean, it's like
Mhm.
it's intense, and some of the most beautiful shows I've ever seen, and some of the worst. I mean, that's what's great about New York. Everybody gets a
Yeah.
shot. You know, it's
Totally.
It's a
great that
wonderful
way.
culture and community, and you're so embedded in it now. Which is anytime I visit you, it's like it's so wonderful to. I mean, I remember the first time that I saw you signing autographs at Stage Door. Do you remember?
were
I was
adorable.
just crying on the street.
Well, I actually want to tell a little story about Alessandro since he's here. I hope I don't cry. My opening night was it was totally magical, and they gave us three tickets to bring people to opening. So I brought my friend John, of course, my best friend, my friend Lenine Charters, who's always been so good to me and also gave me a place to stay when I auditioned for Come From Away. The whole Jane Street crowd, if they're listening that way, loves you. And then I thought, who is the last person who will get the most juice out of coming to a Broadway opening? Who will lose their proverbial, you know what, who will have the best time? And so I offered the ticket to Alessandro, and he came and he wept, and he brought me food at the party. I was very tired, my feet were sore. He brought me things, and he went and he networked and he chatted with people, and he'd come back and I just met so and so and I talked to so and so, and always
It was one of the best nights of my life, truly. But the best part of it was during somewhere in the middle of nowhere, like when you're in the middle of the turntable and you lean back on that chair and you're belting. Like I always describe it as it felt like it was like a dreams come true Care Bear. It was just like it was like everything about it. It was I grabbed the hands of the person next to me. I didn't even know them. It was insane. It was a beautiful evening. It was so wonderful.
It was pretty special. And opening in Toronto was fantastic too. And the company here is so brilliant. And I hope that it won't be too long before they're back as well.
Yes, indeed.
Our producers have been very, very, very generous and lovely to say to us, because we're all feeling a little worried. And I mean, I'm in a very privileged position right now. I have a bit of a buffer and all of that stuff.
Sure.
But they've just said it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So it's just a very, very long intermission.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
I love that.
That was what was on the online today. It was beautifully put.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, isn't that what they said? Wasn't? I think I saw it on social media.
It's like Lynn did this reading or something. I think they're doing this new kind of hashtag that's just an intermission, and it's like,
oh, I
really
like
beautiful.
that. That's cool.
Yeah. It's
Where have you been living in New York, Astrid?
I live in Harlem. I live in an old school, which I think is quite appropriate because I play a teacher. I have 14-foot ceilings, but it's a studio. I mean, it's not crazy big, but it's and I don't know. I mean, it's so weird. I have a beautiful landlady there, and yeah, it's like you have to juggle all these things to like make sure people are okay on both ends. So I hope I'll be back there. I love my neighborhood. I love my coffee shop. I like my neighbors. I feel like that girl who's on the sink. I love my house. I love my apartment. I like my job. I like my friends. I like the coffee shops.
Well,
yeah, I do.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. I mean, it's evident in your heart space, how much joy you derive from telling that beautiful story 8 shows a week. But you've now been there. How long have you been with the company in New York? I mean, I know you've been there the whole run. How long has that been specifically?
3 years, and then we just celebrated our 3rd year just before we shut down.
Yeah.
And then I was with it before on the journey from La Jolla and Seattle.
Of course.
I actually saw the production that the students did from Sheridan.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, Sheridan.
And there was an intermission, and I remember going up to David and Irene, who I knew from my mother's lesbian Jewish wedding.
Of course, yeah.
And I said to them, I want to when this goes to New York, I want to play Diane. So I got the character wrong, but I ended up
right, baby.
The rest of it. Yeah.
Well, I remember when you auditioned. I remember when you were auditioning for it, and then I remember when it went to La Jolla first, and you're like, now it's going here. I was like, it's probably going to go to Broadway. And you're like,
yes,
no,
Alessandro, you were very, very convinced. I'm very sure that it was going to Broadway. It was pretty. It was. I wasn't, and I think in the back of my head, I hoped and I thought, but I was also. I just kept saying, whatever happens is magic, and I'll take the moment I'm in because it was so well received by audiences, and also I was not first choice for Beulah. It was offered to somebody else, and she turned it down, and I got it. This is my whole career. If I wrote a autobiography, I would probably call it second choice. And usually at some point, somebody will come and say, you know what, really glad we got you. So I will take that.
Wow.
That's amazing. Well, the reason I was inquiring about three years is because, even though, I mean, you're working, but like that's a long time. And so New York has become your second home as of late. So obviously, unlike myself, who is viewing what's happening in New York from a Toronto perspective, that has been your home. So as you are viewing Times Square isolated and all the people that within the Broadway community who are being directly impacted by COVID, it has a whole nother ramification for you, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. Last night there was this sing-along, and I missed part of the reason I explained to you before. I didn't watch last night because I felt like it would make me a little nervous about coming on tonight. I thought, well, I'll just leave it. And also at 7:00, they did a sing-along where everybody it was invited in New York to sing this Frank Sinatra, New York, New York. And I just stood downstairs and sang at the top of my lungs along with the little Facebook Live thing. And,
I would have been like, bam!
Yes, thanks, girl. I love it.
I'd be like, geese.
Exactly. And I just sang, and I was singing so loud and so hard and with so much emotion. I was terrified I was not going to have a voice for tonight.
Oh, well, You're
that
laughing
last
on the
note, I was
floor.
holding it so loud and so long.
No,
At the end,
yeah.
I just heard John go, "Whoa."
If I may, Alan, Dr. Detsky wanted to chime in for a sec. He wanted to share a come from away story. He's watching from backstage. We're going to bring him back in to add to that. Alan, share your story with us.
Sure. So just in listening to Astrid talk about it, I'm reminded of something that we, as the producers, think of when we get the show reports. As you probably know, after every performance, we get a report of what happened in the show, and
let me pause you for a quick sec. Astrid,
I can't hear him.
jump out for a second, come back in real quick. Alan, hold that thought. We're gonna sometimes
leave and come back.
Yeah, leave and come back.
You got it.
It's live theater. We might get you started. You know how I false started? Can you tell? Oh, she's coming back. You know how I false started the show? This is like it's going to be like.
Yeah, this is what it is. This ain't high tech.
To hear this beautiful story. So, actually, I meant to ask you, Alan, where are you right now in the world?
I'm in physically I'm up in Muskoka. We're at our home in Muskoka.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
Come up for weekends.
Nice.
Yeah, Astrid, am I back? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Awesome.
Okay, great. So what I was saying was that every night the producers get something called the show reports, which is a report of what happened during the show, and it also keeps track of the statistics. How many shows have we had? How long did the show run? And it usually talks about things that happened in the show. But one of the more satisfying parts of the show report, and they're all fun. We get 5 of them a night from the 5 different performances around the world. But one of the ones on Broadway we get is every so often they'll say, with this performance, and I think when we had our hiatus, we were just at our 3rd anniversary. It was like 2 days before, or maybe the day of our 3rd anniversary from opening. But it always says, with this performance, we have surpassed The King and I, 1951 production, as the 92nd longest running show on Broadway. And then the next night it'll be, we've surpassed Big River or some other show. And it's always fun to see what shows we're surpassing. And I was talking about this with David and Irene. So I believe now we are the 83rd longest running show on Broadway. And when we come back, there will now have to be an asterisk behind the longest running shows on Broadway, because all the ones that are still there and still running will have had this big hiatus. So hopefully we will be back, and we will be the 82nd and the 81st and the 80th. But with all of those, they're going to have an asterisk, but not counting that terrible 4 months when we were closed or on hiatus. So anyway, I was thinking about that as you were talking about the longevity of the show. And I can't believe that somebody else turned down Beulah.
I know.
Beautifully
done. I'm just so grateful that they did.
Oh, thank you for that, Alan. Thank you so much.
Well, you might say, I turned down a chance to also invest in producing Dear Evan Hansen, so you might say that was as bad as turning down the role of Beulah.
I wish I had invested in Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, thank you, Alan, for sharing that with us. That's awesome. Stay with us backstage, Alan.
I will.
Will you sing for us, Astrid?
I will. I'm going to sing.
We're going to go over 8 o'clock because I can.
Okay. Sorry, Seth. This is Sing Happy from Flora the Red Menace, and I meant to have somebody maybe could put it in live chat who wrote it, because I'm getting older and it totally went out of my brain. Who wrote it? Alessandro probably can look that up really quickly. I've got my phone and my computer.
You can type it in to the chat, and I'll put it on the screen while she's singing.
Yeah.
And this is from this is a backup track from YouTube, and the person playing is, I need my glasses. Jason Pittner. Jason Pittner, thank you for this backing track.
Oh, it's Candor and Ebb.
Candor and Ebb. How could I like my brain not remember?
Book by George Abbott. Thank you, Dr. Detsky. Book by George Abbott and Robert Russell. Music by Candor and lyrics by Fred Ebb. Well
I don't think it was a huge success, but Liza Minnelli was one of her early ones. And if you listen to her sing, because I like going down YouTube holes, because when I was thinking about songs to do, I was like, what should I do? And I remembered, I'm dropping a name, I can't help it, Gavin Creel, who I think is one of the sweetest human beings. And I've only spoken to him a few times, so he's not like a close friend, but he is such a sweet person. And he came up to me And he said I should sing A Quiet Thing. And then I went down a YouTube hole and I heard him
You
sing it.
sent
I'm
me
like, I'm not touching that
That's
song.
right. You sent me
After
this.
he's put his fingerprints all over it because of that
Yes.
voice. So I started looking at Flora the Red Menace, and I really like this song, and I think it speaks a little bit to what we're trying to do when we're performers. So sing happy. Well,
Thank
Great.
you, Astrid.
hopefully. Sing me a happy song about robins in spring. Sing me a happy song with a happy ending. Some cheerful roundelay about catching the ring. Sing happy. Sing me a sonnet all about rolling in gold. Some peppy melody about rainbows blending. I need no phrases saying you're out in the cold. Sing happy. Tell me tomorrow's gonna be peaches and cream. Assure me clouds aligned with the silver lining. Say how you realized an impossible dream. Sing me a happy song. Sing me a madrigal about trips to the moon. Or some old ballad about two eyes shining. It can't be loud enough for a moment too soon. Sing happy. No need reminding me how it all fell apart. I need no lyrics singing of stormy weather. There's quite enough around me that is breaking my heart. Sing happy. Give me a hallelujah and get up and shout. Tell me the sun is shining around the corner. Whoever's interested in helping me out, please keep it happy. I'm only interested in long, loud laughter. You can serenade me till dawn comes along. Just keep it a happy, make it a happy song.
Brava, brava.
Yay! That's
Oh, the red
That
menace.
is correct. I oversang that. Stop giving me the eyes of judgment.
no, you were gorgeous. You were gorgeous.
Beautiful.
The cat, are you getting a stank eye
Yes,
from your
I
kid?
got stank eye from my cat. She's
The
not wrong.
safety
but
cat.
fuck it. I love you, kitty cat.
Oh, that was great.
So I have to say, I forgive me, Astrid, for imposing my sort of like my touch. Oh, hello.
Wow.
That's the stank eye I'm getting right there. It's like I was sleeping so beautifully.
Yeah.
Anyways, I love you.
Agreed.
Would it be an appropriate thing to ask you if you were to share what are some of the things or the insights that you've had personally since this pandemic has impacted our world? What's been some, if you're willing to share some of your
Yes,
inner?
absolutely. Well, theater gives me so much structure because I just, my brain and where I go. So being an interpretive artist, getting to put that energy somewhere and knowing that I was telling that story, it just suddenly felt like just the floor was gone out from under me. So I've discovered that scheduling a few things every day has been really helpful. And I'm not sure where I read it, but I try to in the morning now. As soon as I wake up, I'll take a really deep breath in and then out, and I'll think about something I'm really grateful for. It could be something small or massive. It could be just the cat walking over my back, whatever. Then I try to set an intention for the day, and that's not so much things I'm going to get done, but how I'm going to get them done. So if I'm going to have a day full of focus, or a day full of patience, or a day full of finding joy, or letting myself be sad, like just kind of having an intention, and then getting out of bed, putting my feet on the ground and feeling my feet on the floor first and foremost, and just grounding that way. And I've learned that I'm also doing the artist's way. I thought, well,
Good for you. Good for you.
Some fitness friends who are all happen to all be performers pretty much too, except our one lawyer pal who is keeping us on schedule and organizing the Zoom meetings. Adrian, who's like amazing. So these are people I did Mark Fisher Fitness with. Shout out to them because that was a great experience. And working out, I'm working out at least 4 or 5 times a week, just to. Otherwise, I find I get really blurry. Like it could be blurs. I actually yesterday had a panic moment of thinking the show was yesterday and thinking it was Friday. I think we're all losing track of days.
Oh yeah.
The last thing I will say, and probably I'm oversharing because it's a lot of things I just talked about.
No, not at all. Don't be silly.
But I have always believed in the maintenance of friendships, so I will always try to like call people occasionally or text or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just realizing what incredible friends I do have.
Thank you.
How lucky I am with the people, and not just like friends who I talk to all the time, but people I know I can pick up a conversation with. We our whole community in Toronto, the theater community, it's just
incredible, extraordinary.
Well, I have to mirror that because, like, you know, as we were chatting, you know, quietly. No, I was being very loud. Nothing is quiet with me. We were chatting privately before the stream started, or before I decided to start the stream. You know, like even in the creation of this, like, I mean, obviously people are, you know, have a lot of time in their hands, but I realized how wide my personal net was, you know, in terms of the community. I guess when you've been doing it for almost 30 years, but you know, like I literally just, you know, I just reached out to anyone that I could, and everyone was just so present. And I get, you know, because, you know, for the muggles, as I say, you know, we use wizards and witches are the performers, and muggles are people that are not in the performance, but they're generous and contributing, and are beautiful patrons. But you know, the muggle perspective of the people that have been on the show is like, you guys are just all so extraordinary in doing the best things. Like right here, hello, look at these people. Dear Evan Hansen come from Way Broadway. This is happening, and yet we're just chatting in our living rooms. And I just, it's what you said. You realize in New York that I guess it sort of takes not the mystique. It doesn't mean that you don't lose the passion, but you realize that people are people, you know? So even.
And shows are shows. Like there's great theater happening everywhere. Like Toronto does not need, I don't know the expression I'm looking for, but we are not in the shadow of anything here. I've seen some of the most extraordinary, I mean, like my friend Lisa, I saw her do Grey Gardens. And
Lisa
Horner, like, or anything that she does, or anything that, you know, Kat Sandler's writing, and you know, going strapped. Like we have so many incredible people up here. We're so blessed.
Well, relationships, if I may, other donations in addition to Yannick and beautiful Newton Landry Management with their wonderful donation of $500. We had additional donation from Roger Rylott for $25 on behalf.
My old neighbor from Church Street when I used to live in the village.
On behalf of Astrid. You want to talk about friendships? Another donation by a lovely young man named, I called him young, I hope he appreciates that, Justin Hawley, for $25. Justin Hawley lives in Brisbane, Australia. And Justin and I, or Jezza, how you going, Jezza? I lived in Australia for a year in 2002 to 2003, and Jezza and I met on a street dance on Gay Day in Brisbane.
Wow.
And he came, I was 29, he was probably around 24 years of age, and here we are.
Cool.
Awesome.
It's more amazing for us to watch this from Australia. We just can't pop over to Broadway. Thank you, Jezza.
Right.
Anyway, out of the blue, this morning while he was going to bed at 10:30, he like WhatsApped me and at 8:30 a.m. my time, and I said, hey, I'm doing this thing, and he had actually made a previous donation to a Broadway Cares event. He was aware of what Rosie O'Donnell had done and Seth Rudetsky, and I said, well, I'm doing something similar, and he set an alarm and woke up this morning at 9 a.m. so he could enjoy his Saturday morning with us. So I'm so thrilled, Jezza, that you were able to be with us. Thank you. That's awesome.
Wow.
Well,
Lovely.
Astrid, I just, you are, I mean, you do wonderful things, but first and foremost, you are a wonderful, authentic person. And
Best.
because of who you are as a person, even, it's funny, I don't know you very well as a person, but I feel like I know your spirit because you wear it so authentically and you radiate it so openly and so generously.
Yes.
And that just transcends through your art.
Yeah.
And
I've been very, very, very blessed in my life. So to not try to have an open heart in this world, that's been so good to me.
No, it's true. You've been.
Oh, it's so funny. My fitness pal just came up and says you haven't logged your dinner in yet for today.
Oh
No,
don't worry about
pal, because I haven't eaten it.
You have a show.
That's right. You interrupted your 7 o'clock dinner. That's right. Thank you for messing with your dinner for us. Alessandro, did I hear you correctly when you were referring to that moment where Astrid was leaning back? Unless I made it up, did the word Care Bear come out of your?
It was like a dream.
Care Bear stare.
Care Bear stare, yeah.
Because it happened, and I was like, I needed to flag it because I use that expression all the time. So that's what it is, Astrid, an open heart. Like when I'm working with my students, like at Sheridan, I'm like, give me Care Bear stare. Keep that heart space open. Not only to have the courage to be vulnerable, but to have the openness to receive. Because it's a two-way dialogue, right?
And that's what's so beautiful about Come From Away, like because so much of it is direct address. Our audiences are our other scene partner, so you are constantly receiving from them, and that's why I've been able to do this show so long because it's always fresh. So my cast.
Here's your mayor coming in from Gander, George Maswell. Log this, fitness pal.
What do you write?
Sorry, he wrote log this, fitness pal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If I may share before you sing us out with your third beautiful musical offering. I mean, I know everyone. I've had the privilege of seeing Come From Away 3 times. I saw your company twice, and I returned with my mother in the new year to see the Toronto company. I mean, everyone has a moment in a show that they love, and I got to see Alessandro in his final performance. I waited till the very last show here in Toronto before they went on tour. But I remember for me, one of the most, and again, this is sort of, I guess, how I opened the show tonight when I was, saying that. I hope I didn't offend anyone by singing Lee's little song, but
it's beautiful.
Again, it's about the universality, and the one moment that continues to be one of the most touching things for me in Come From Away is when the bus driver shows the couple from Africa, the scripture reading in their Bible, knowing that it would be the same thing that, and be not afraid. I can't remember what the actual script.
Be anxious for nothing.
Be anxious.
Thank you. I know you could quote it. You hear it every day.
Although it's weird, sometimes when we do like run-throughs and stuff out of context, I forget all my lines. So
yeah, but I just remember that moment about because I mean, Come From Away. I mean, it's those people were stopped on a dime. The world literally did stop, and they were forced to find a community in a world that they never would. It's very, the similarities to what it is that we're all experiencing globally, and how, as I said, in that state of isolation, ironically, if we can transcend that feeling of self-isolation, it actually creates a global community. And
we're coming together by staying apart.
And there lies that profound conundrum. But anyway, I am. Oh, George, thank you very much for that.
What did they
Okay.
say?
Philippians,
Yes.
chapter 4, verse 6.
Yeah, beautiful.
What are you going to share with us to sing us out tonight, my love?
Well, I gotta use my glasses here. I planned to sing this song already before the dear, beautiful songwriter John Prine passed away. This is a song I've done quite a few times, and I always feel like I can get again. It's about being old and being lonely, and we are losing some of our. And our prime minister spoke to it too. So I'm kind of going all over the map. But when he said, it's these people who fought for us in World War II and veterans of other wars and stuff who are now in long care homes and are facing the threat of COVID-19. And the most horrific thing is to be older and to be alone.
Absolutely.
And that people can't be with them when they're struggling or when they pass. Really breaks my heart. So this is a song, a lot of people know it. And I will give you, and my friend Alec Bernstein is playing the guitar on the back of this
Astrid?
Yes.
I just wanted to share that Nikki Christensen donated $25 with the comment that in honor of the incomparable Astrid Van Wieren.
Nikki, thank you. You're one of the sweetest, biggest fans of Come From Away, and I adore you. You're awesome. So
Thank you so much.
Nice.
Anyway, have a beautiful sing, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Okay, here we go. Oh, here we go. We had an apartment in the city. Me and my husband liked living there. But it's been years since the kids have grown a life of their own, left us alone. John and Judy, they live in Omaha. And Joe is somewhere on the road. We lost Davy in the Korean War. Still don't know what for. Doesn't matter anymore. And old trees, they just grow stronger. And older rivers grow wilder every day. Old people, they just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there. Hello. Me and my husband, we don't talk much anymore. He stands and he stares at the back door screen. And all the news, well, it just repeats itself like some forgotten dream that we'd have both seen. Maybe I'll go and call up Judy. We worked together at the factory. What'll I say when she asks, what's new? Say nothing. What's with you? Nothing left to do. And old trees, they just grow stronger. And old rivers grow wilder every day. And old people, they just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there. Hello. So if you're walking down the street sometime and you spot some hollow ancient eyes, don't you just pass them by and stare as if you didn't care. Say hello in there. Hello.
Gorgeous.
Thank you, Astrid, for
You're
your
so welcome.
beautifulness.
I love that song. I
Beautiful.
can't believe he's gone. What a he wrote that when he was 24.
Wow.
Jeez.
We were chatting about long-term care facilities, and you know, as Alan, Dr. Detsky was telling us, you know, some of the most vulnerable are people in long care facilities. This was something that I shouted out a little while ago. Just a reminder: a wonderful organization called Smile Theater serves the elderly community, and there is their wonderful executive director, Tom Carson, at Smile Theater.
I love
If
him.
you go to smiletheater.com, they're inviting video submissions from performers that want to say a brief hello to a senior and offer a song. And you can contact Tom either through Facebook or through smiletheater.com and send in a video so that they can send them to those residents that aren't able to get visitors right now. And that's an ongoing adventure. So please share that with you.
What a lovely way to give back, people.
If you're following us on social media, shout us out at hashtag Big Girl in France. Yeah, it's the thing I do. Tomorrow, we continue our 4th week. Wow, 4 weeks, my goodness.
Amazing, dude.
It's crazy. With the villainous extraordinaire from Ross Petty Productions, Pantos, the last 2 years, the fabulous Sarah Jean Hosey, stalwart talent in her own right, recently had a premiere of her work done out in British Columbia, a musical she wrote. We're going to talk about that. And Astrid, I just, you know, I just get to be transported in the heart spaces of all the beautiful people in my community. And I just count myself so fortunate to have people like you in my circle. So thank you. And I look forward to giving you a great big hug in person. It's going to be a big girl hug.
I can't wait.
And thanks everybody who tuned in and donated. And just remember, please be kind to everybody. Be kind to yourself. Take care of your mental health. Whatever you
need.
Yeah.
Self-care. Stay home. Stay safe. Stay positive. And you guys stay put. We'll have a little chat. Love and light. And we'll see you all tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Ciao.
Good night, everyone.